Today is Wednesday, September the 15th, and we talked about a bounce yesterday because we saw the chikouspan getting so much support on previous candles and moving averages. So now we're going to look at the outcome. We did see a bounce. We saw it go back to neutral. It doesn't mean that it can't go back down again or back up. It just means that it's undecided. So let's see what the charts have to say. There's the summation index, which is continuing to go lower, which really is telling us that the S&P somewhere in the next 2 weeks is going lower. Now let's take a look at the charts that were predictive yesterday. Remember, the Dow Jones bounced off of the 50 yesterday, or hit the 50, and today was a bounce. So where is support? Support now is on the 50. Resistance is up here on tomorrow's candle. So we're going to look at both of those things. Let me just draw a green line right there. So that's support, that's resistance, which should mean upwards for the market. If it goes down, then you've got to really be worried about the chikouspan losing support and finding its next support somewhere on the cloud. I honestly believe now the chikouspan is telling us what's going to happen with the market. Price ended up just above the cloud for the Dow Jones. The S&P had a very nice day. Remember yesterday it bounced off the top of the candle. So this is going to be support, and really the resistance now is up here where you see the top of the candles, the previous high. So resistance and support. The NASDAQ, we were looking at this area right here where the 50 is eventually going to move up higher and be support for the candles, but the chikouspan is still way above the candles. So we're talking about still support being down here, resistance being up here, but there's a possibility of coming down to the 50. And when we do that, that's when the chikouspan is going to fall below the candles, or maybe right here. Maybe it's going to be, a week in the future, but let's just keep a look at the chikouspan. It's so important. The volatility index continued to drop. IBM found support on the 50, on the 200, and bounced. Apple, where did it get its support? Well, let's look at the bottom of the day right there. Come back, and you can see that support was pretty much in the middle of this candle. So again, the chikouspan came down to the candle. That's the key indicator. That's the one we want to watch. We want to watch the chikouspan with the Apple, with Dow Jones, with the SPX, Caterpillar. Caterpillar came above the 200 just barely, but look where it found resistance. At the end of the day, it found resistance right at the bottom of that candle. Again, just like yesterday, we had 6 charts where the chikouspan was predictive. This tells us that the support for IBM now is at this line. That's the 200 for the chikouspan, and resistance is going to be at the bottom of this candle, maybe right here. But look where that is. It's right at the bottom of the cloud. Again, another not so coincidental coincidence. That's going to be resistance. Where are we? That was Caterpillar. Square, just below the cloud. Again, we looked at yesterday, we saw the chikouspan a few days ago bouncing off the 50, bouncing off the 50. Today, bouncing off the 50 again and still moving higher. So resistance, is really still the top of the cloud, and support is still the 50 for the chikouspan. So we can move that right up to here because that's going to be support, but resistance, very narrow range. It's the top of the bottom of the cloud. So not much movement for Square, I would think. Now JP Morgan found its support at the cloud and moved higher. Again, yesterday was the chikouspan hitting the top of this candle, and now it's looking like It's above the body of this candle, but not quite above the wick. Still a good sign. SMTC, the stock we thought we could buy today, had this hammer that's sometimes a reverse. So let's take a look. Let's watch SMTC very carefully tomorrow and see if that's a reverse that could call for some downwards move. It could also call for some upwards, but frankly, these type of hammers do tend to mean a reverse to the downside. So let's just see. Last one we want to talk about, U.S. Bank. Big day today, up 3.4%, but where was resistance? Resistance was where we'd expect it to be, right on the top of the cloud. And the chikouspan itself ends up above the candles, which is positive. So there's a good opportunity that resistance tomorrow could be right here, and support could be somewhere, support would really be the top of this candle. Anywhere other than the top of this candle isn't support. So that's the range for US Bank. So that's it for today. The chikouspan is what we watched yesterday, and it predicted the bounce. Let's just take a summary now. We've got the McClellan oscillator right at the zero line. Could go either way. The Dow Jones is telling us that you've got this support. There's support, there's resistance. Dow Jones could be going higher tomorrow. It's not clear cut. The S&P, there's support, there's resistance. That's the zone that we're going to play into. And really tomorrow is a coin toss.